Hey everyone. So we're gonna test this out. The quality might not be ideal. I'm having some issues updating my camera, my GoPro. So I'm trying this out with my just my iPad. And we'll do another version if we need to, but I figured might as well give this a shot, see how it goes. Um, we are gonna do a little overview of the Hour of Need demo kit. I'm gonna do a few kind of just slow takes of this so you can kind of get a look at it because the angle from where I'm going to set it up might not be ideal for everybody to see all the components. So just giving a little overview here. Here are the this is the enemy deck with, or sorry, the villain deck with the villain and her lackeys and the minions, peril tokens. Here are the 4 heroes in the core game. Rulebook, box, um, issue board, issue deck, and the tokens, clue cards. And these are all prototype materials. They're pretty close to final, but obviously there'll be tweaks and some possible changes before the finals. But we'll do this view so you can get a long shot of how the setup's going to work. Let me just make sure this is straight. I don't want to get that glare, so that should be okay for now. And like I said, we will do a full playthrough when the GoPro is up and ready, because now you can do live streaming with the GoPro. So I'm gonna get this link shared out real quick and address any questions anybody might have. Oops. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to open up this video to make sure I catch any questions that might pop up. All right. View's not too bad. Okay, so kind of gave you a little overview of the components here. A typical game of Hour of Need will consist of 3 main elements: your hero decks, the villain decks, and the issue decks. And these can be all interchangeable like our other modular deck system games. So for the demo kit, we're going to have the Dowager villain deck. I think I'm going to play as the micro guy. He's a little more advanced than the other heroes, but he's my favorite. He has a pilot token and a mech suit because he is a little guy and he drives around this mech to fight crime. So the first thing you're going to do is choose your heroes, and I will reference the rule book here just so you can see how typical setup goes. And we probably won't do a full game, but I'll give you an overview, show you how turns work, and then we'll do a full playthrough later. So we're going to choose heroes. In a solo game, obviously I'm choosing 1 hero. You can choose more if you want to play multiple heroes, but I usually just want to play 1. So I got my hero deck. I'm going to search the chosen hero deck for the double-sided hero card, and the hero is a trait here. So micro guy, there's 2 sides. Typically there's a hero side and then a hero focused side. The hero focused side is going to go face down, and you're going to create your play area. So the play area is very similar to other games where you'll have your cards you control in your hero play area. You'll have a threat area above that. Cards that are your typically either are affecting you or you're managing the upkeep of. So you're going to shuffle your hero deck, and you're going to draw 4 cards. You can mulligan if you want. You get 1 mulligan. So I'll do a quick shuffle here, and I'll show you my starting cards. It should give you a little overview about how they work if you haven't seen our preview articles yet. So I got my starting 4 cards. I place the draw deck to the left of my hero card, and it looks like we have, I'm not sure if this angle, I'll wait a second to see if this angle works. Okay. Yeah, so we have we have 4 different cards, which is a good mix. We have a strength icon here, heroic feat icon. We have a mobility, which is awesome. Mobility is good to start with. And actually we have all but 1. We have all but toughness. So we have all but the deduction, which is the solving. So we have toughness here, which avoids damage. So I'm going to keep this hand. This is really good. So I have my starting hand here. I'm going to take my 2 action tokens. They're double-sided. There's the unused and the used side. We'll put them unused side up right above our hero deck for within easy reach. We'll grab a turn card. This is a reference card. Has the game round, villain turn, hero turn, and then issue turn. We'll put that above to kind of create our threat area. Put it up there, and then we're going to move on to the choose issue stage step of the setup. So we have the Century Heist here, which is our demo kit one. The Century Heist board. These boards will they'll come bifold like this. The demo kit's quad fold because of the they had limitations for the printing for the demo kit, but they'll come like this, and you'll unfold them. They'll be double sided, so each issue will have a side of the board. So this side's going to be the Century Heist. We'll put it in the main play area. The board's broken up into the tactical map, which is the kind of the area that's the action's taking place in. And then there's going to be these scheme panels here, and these correspond to special spaces called scheme spaces on the map. And if you move into those spaces, you're going to go straight to the scheme panel, and there's usually a side scheme effect that's going to be going on that the villain's going to trigger. So you have to go in there to clean it up when you're trying to find the villain. I'll explain that in the overview. So the first thing we're going to do is we place the board. We're going to place 1 bystander token on each bystander space. So there's going to be 4 bystander spaces typically. 1, 2, 3, 4. And these represent innocent people that you have to save from being captured or defeated. You will take create the issue play area by looking through the issue deck to find the issue overview card. You'll set that here to create the issue play area. You'll follow any, actually before you follow any setup steps, you're going to take the 4 scheme cards out of here. So every issue issue deck's going to have 4 scheme cards, and these correspond to the scheme panels. We'll shuffle these up, and these are double-sided, so one side's going to be the scheme side, one side's going to be something totally different. It changes from issue to issue. So we'll shuffle this up. I'm going to double check to make sure we don't have any comments. 1 second here. Nope, no questions yet or anything. All right, so we'll shuffle these up and we'll deal 1. So each player's going to get a scheme. If you were playing more than 4 players, I'll explain how that works later, but there's a scaling mechanic to make up for the fact that you won't have 1 scheme per hero. So I got the exclusive edition news scheme panel scheme, and this is called Manufactured Hysteria. Looks like, oh, sorry, that was my GoPro. So the rest of these, since I'm only playing 1 player, the rest of these are going to leave the game, so I don't need these anymore. So I just have this 1 scheme right here, and then I'm going to place my hero. I forgot to do this before I did the scheme card. The hero start space right here. You can choose to start in that space or any adjacent space. And when I'm playing single player, I would have to make this choice before I see my starting scheme. So usually I would start in the middle, just so I'm, I don't really know which one I want to go for. So I'm starting in the middle here. Now I know I want to go here, so I would want to be here, but I didn't have the information before. So I'm going to start in that hero scheme, the hero start space. And then the final thing you do for the issue setup is there's any special setup rules here. This one says remove the vault, which is a double-sided card in this one, from the issue deck and put it in the issue play area, sealed side up. So this vault here is sort of like an objective for the enemy, and it says if this card ever has 3 issue tokens on it, discard all tokens from it and flip it. And the crisis effect here, which I'll explain later, is place 1 issue token on this card. So the villain's going to try to crack this vault open, and your job is to stop her. So we'll shuffle up the rest of the issue cards. These are sort of like your event cards, your timer for the game. There's always going to be 9 cards in here, so you have exactly 10 rounds to complete your objective, which is defeat the boss. And then finally, we're going to do the choose villain step. Oh, one other setup part is the issue tokens over here. So we put those into place. So the villain deck is going to have a villain card. So the first thing we do is remove each card from the villain deck that has a scaling indicator that matches the number of heroes in the game. So in this example, we remove any cards that has a 1 hero scaling indicator. So those are not in the deck for this game. And then if we were playing, for example, 5 or 6 players, then there's another icon there. So we remove those cards from the game instead. So you only remove cards that match the number of players in the game. So these are going to be out of the game. All right. We'll set these aside. And then the next step we do is we take the villain card out of the villain deck, which is a double-sided card with a villain trait, and it's going to have the scheming side and the showdown side. Cards always start with the scheming side face up, and they might have any special setup rules or just special rules. This, obviously, Dowager is kind of the starting villain, so she has neither. The villain card also has an inflict value here, which is how much damage the villain can do even when they're not revealed. And then this is a danger value, and that says 5 per hero. So to reveal the villain, you have to solve that and deal justice to this card equal to the danger value to reveal the villain and start the showdown. So we're going to shuffle up the rest of the villain cards. And we'll create the villain deck and the villain discard pile next to the villain card. And the other thing we're going to do is place hidden tokens on the villain equal to the number of heroes in the game, which is just 1 for me. So we take 1 hidden token and place it here. And this prevents us from solving Dowager, so we cannot reveal her until we remove all the hidden tokens, and that's done by solving schemes. You'll see an icon here. This means when you solve this card, it flips over, but you also get rid of a hidden token from the villain. So our first step is to solve the schemes before we go after the villain. So that's all done, and the very last step is just organizing our tokens. So we have focus tokens for heroes. There'll be you can have up to 5 focused tokens. So I put the rest in the box. I just need the 5 for this solo game. We have damage and justice. We have the peril tokens I explained before. We have the based. I forgot to put the villain in play. It's important. So the villain always starts in the first scheme panel. They're numbered 1 through 4. She starts in number 1. We also have any specific issue tokens that would be referred to in the issue guide. In this one, these 3 tokens, we have Loxley, who's a villain. We have Gabby Woods, and then we have an abductor. So those might come into play. They might not. So then we shuffle up the clue cards, and we are good to go. So that is set up. And obviously, once you know how to set the game up, it goes pretty smoothly. I'm just explaining each step of the way so you kind of know all the elements of the game. Quick overview of the game. It's consists of, like I said before, 10 rounds. Each round is going to be starting with the villain turn, and then it'll go to the hero turn, which is all collective. All the heroes do their turn together, and then an issue turn. And all the issue turn is drawing an issue card. So the villain turn is everyone's going to draw 1 villain card, each hero. And then each hero is going to do their 2 actions. And then after everyone's done, they're going to do their threat areas. And then you're going to move on to the issue turn where you draw an issue card and resolve it. And this continues on until you either defeat the villain or the villain completes their overall goal, which is either running out this deck because you ran out of time and you just took too long to bust the villain, or there's also a loss condition typically. Like for this one, for example, the villain's trying to rob the Century Bank, which is over here, and if they manage to get all 3 gold from the vault and cash it in onto this issue card, which means escape with it, then you lose the game also. So I'll go ahead and do a typical turn to show you how this goes. And then, like I said before, we'll probably do a full 2-player playthrough, and it'll be less of a tutorial and more just so you can kind of see how the game flows and how quick the game can be played. So right now, we'll start with the villain turn. I'm going to draw 1 villain card, and I'll resolve it. And this one is a peril card. This is a Widowmaker. So this refers to the peril tokens, and this little skull right here means this is going to go in our threat area when we draw it. So some villain cards might just have icons to resolve, like this, for example, from left to right. So we have they're called this is the scheme icon. This is the let me find the names of these. They're on my card right here. So yeah, we have the villain icons, which are, this one is going to be placing minions. This one is going to cause the villain to either scheme, which is resolve the scheme effect on their scheme panel, or inflict the nearest hero, or the hero if a hero is near them. And then we also have the bystander one. This one makes you either place a bystander, and if you can't, then the villain's going to capture a bystander. And captured bystanders can usually lead to bad things, so you gotta rescue them. So anyway, we have the Widowmaker here, which represents a bomb that the Dowagers planted, and this is different for each villain, obviously. They'll have their own peril tokens coming into play. So we'll place it up here in the red peril space, and that's just another problem I gotta deal with, and that could possibly defeat one of the bystanders, which is bad news. So the first thing I'm gonna do on my turn now, so that was the villain turn, I drew a card. So I have two actions to use. Some of my actions could be from cards. Like for example, I have this card right here, which is an action. This icon right here means when I play it, it's an action. You can also just do a standard move, which is 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3. You can you can attack, which is trying to deal damage based on your attack value, which mine's 1 because whoops, I'm the wrong side. There you go. I'm the pilot right now, so I have to put my pilot in play. I have to focus up to get my mech out. So I only have 1 attack, but I have 3 solves. So he's really good at solving problems. He's not as good at attacking. So you can also, speaking of solves, your other actions to solve. And I'll show you this reference here. It's just kind of a breakdown of the actions you can do. So anything in the game that has an action icon, which might be on other cards, or just playing cards from your hand that have the action icon, or you can also draw a card as for an action. And then the other ones I said before, move, play an action card, attack, or solve. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to play one of my action cards, which is called Aerial Mode. So this is an interesting card because I could use this. I'm going to make sure this is in screen here. Sorry. There we go. This might be able to see better. So you'll see that icon there, that wing. That's called a Heroic Feat icon. So I could trigger that by just discarding this from my hand, and that would let me just move to any space on the board. So I can just pretty much fly wherever I want on the map. However, if I play this one, this effect says when you play this card, you may move to any space. So the trade-off here is I'm spending an action to play it, but I'm also gaining this exhaust effect. So I can move or discard this card to flip your hero card to its pilot side. So I can essentially exhaust this to move, and move is always 3 spaces unless otherwise specified. So I'm going to go ahead and play this as an action. So it's going to let me fly to wherever I want to go, but I also keep that exhaust effect. So I'm going to fly actually over here because I would like to try to solve this peril before I go take care of my scheme over here. So my other action is going to be to do my other action, which is solve. So I'm rolling 3 hero dice. So here are the results. We have 1 success plus a focus, and 1 focus. So I have no focus right now, so I cannot turn these into successes, which is what those symbols mean. But right now I have 2 successes, so I'm putting 2 justice on the Widowmaker right now, and then I'm gaining 2 focus. So that is my roll right there. And then also I have no actions left, so typically I would move on to my threat phase and resolve these cards. But I have a card in my hand here, and you have a window of opportunity before you start the threat phase to finish up any other effects you might have that don't cost actions. And for example, this one says out of sight. So this one is if your hero is on its pilot side, I can solve. And whenever you see a word like that that's in bold, it means you can do that action, but it doesn't cost you an action because you're spinning the card. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. And if I had any enemies nearby, I could ignore them. So I'm going to try to solve this peril with 3 more dice, and I did it. So I got 1, 2, 3 successes, and I got another focus. So I defeated it. So this is gone. It's defeated. I remove the justice. I discard it, discard the token, and because it was a problem card, anytime you defeat an enemy or solve a problem, you get to draw a clue card. And these clue cards, they give you these additional dice before a roll or an effect. So this one says Trail of Evidence. I could use this to do a free move, or I could just keep it and use it before a die roll to add extra dice to my roll. And these are crucial for when you have to do the enemy showdowns and some of the harder issues where the dice aren't necessarily going to be enough to get things done. You have to actually have some clues to push your success levels. Now, also, another effect I could do before I do my threat phase, because you have, like I said, this window before you actually have to do any threat resolutions, I'm going to go and exhaust this right now to move up to 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, and rescue this bystander. Now, bystanders, typically all you have to do is move into their space unless they're captured. If they're captured, then you have to actually do a solve and spend one of your successes to save them. But I just saved this bystander, and this is, again, another time I can get a clue card for saving them. So I got another clue card, which gives me 2 more dice. I'm going to keep that. So that's pretty much all I can do on my turn. So now I'm going to move on to my threat phase. This right here, this manufactured hysteria scheme, says somehow the villain is broadcasting from the news tower, causing a citywide panic. And the activate effect here is if there are 4 bystanders on the map, a crisis occurs. So luckily, I saved that one. If a crisis occurred, it would progress the villain on their overall plot. So luckily, I rescued that bystander so it doesn't trigger. And now I'm going to move on to my draw card phase. So I draw my card, and that's the end of my turn. If any other heroes were going, they could do their turn. And you can also intermingle, so I can do an action, and then my buddy can do an action, and then I can do my other action. But once a hero completes their second action, no more actions can be taken until you do the threat phase. So that's the hero turn, and in solo it goes pretty quick because you're just the only hero spinning actions. Now we move on to the issue turn. So we draw an issue card, and this says Lox's Cunning, and this is the villain I told you about before, Loxley. He's one of the enemies that might pop out, and it says if Loxley's token is in play, he inflicts each hero. Otherwise, the villain schemes. So he's not in play, so the villain's just going to scheme right now. So the villain scheme effect says if the vault is on its open side, the villain advances, which is not true. But if the villain would advance, she would move to the next scheme panel. So it's kind of like a timer. So she's not going to advance, but it says otherwise, place one issue token on the vault. So she is 1 out of 3 steps away from cracking open the vault. So right now she's trying to get Loxley to break the vault for her, and then she'll move into the bank and take the gold. So right now Loxley is operating in the shadows, and he made 1 progress. That's a turn. So we move on back to the villain turn, and then this would continue until, like I said, either we defeat the villain or the villain either gets keeps us distracted until the time runs out, or gets her overall goal done, which is getting the gold out of the town. So that's kind of an overview of how the game works, and kind of a look at the setup and kind of some of the options you can have when you get all this content. There's going to be a lot of mixing and matching of these heroes and villains and issues. So we'll do another full playthrough next time, but hopefully this will help you get an idea about how Hour of Need works. Thanks for joining us.